Hey all, towards the end of August now, which for me in Western North Carolina means time is really running out to be what we call selfing these okra flowers on the Whidby white. So basically we only want the palest producing plant to share pollen with itself so that we can ensure that any non-pale genetics, greener genetics, are not coming in from other plants. Very simple process with okra because the okra flower is self-pollinating, so it's set up to share its own pollen. But it's also big and beautiful, so insects are all over it. We've got this native mallow bee, or the okra bee, that is all over this field at the moment, and it's sharing pollen. And if you've got another variety of the same, actually in this case, sorry, any other plant of okra could share genetics to our palest plant, which we want to isolate on its own. So that's the whole idea of bagging these unopened buds. I'm going to show you specifically with the Whidby white, but the reason the time is ticking is because from flowering to mature seed, and that's seed that can be reliably or successfully planted next year to grow more okra, we need about 40 days. And we know okra is going to die as soon as we hit that first frost. For us, it's October 10th is the average first frost. You can easily look this up by zip code on the internet. If we come back 40 days from October 10th, we get to August 30th. So I always try and do all my selfing and whatever seed saving stuff within the first couple of weeks of August. I'm running a bit behind this year, and so I'm kind of pushing the window into the last 2 weeks of August, August 30 being my absolute cutoff day, and I'm just kind of hoping we're not going to get a real early frost. If we do get a really early frost, it's not game over. I can still cut the plant, take it into like a barn location, and finish that drying process off like you might do with a dried bean or something similar like that. So we can still make it work if we get an earlier frost. We'll play it by ear, and we can check in again when that comes around. I'm just going to spin the camera around and show you the very simple act of bagging and the difference between a bud and a flower and what happens afterwards. Okay, here are all the okra varieties. It's going to be crazy cross-pollination. As we zoom into my Whidby white, there's a few things we can notice. One is a big beautiful open flower, so that like today that is gonna be pollinated one way or another by its own pollen or by an insect coming in and sharing pollen from another plant, another okra plant. So if I were to try and bag this or save seed from this, I couldn't guarantee that it had self-pollinated. There could be a chance of cross-pollination. The chance of cross-pollination is like reported in various texts, and it is quite wide. I've seen everything from 10% to 30-40% chance of cross-pollination. It likely depends on your pollinator activity. We see higher cross-pollination when we have like organic fields and high insect pollination and that kind of stuff. But either way, there's a chance, and we want to eliminate any chance. So this one's too far gone. We look on the same plant, and actually we know that okra goes upwards, right? We've got a big mature pod there, or maturing pod. We've got one here, that's a little older, younger open flower that's going to become a pod, and we keep going up, and here we see the next bud that's going to open is the next one up. That's a younger bud, younger. These are quite a ways away. So just above the last flower or baby pod, we should see the next bud. So that's not yet had a chance to open. To me, it's kind of, if you look at the end, it's starting to bulge a little, it's starting to pale a little, but I don't think that's going to open tomorrow, maybe the day after. As long as you're a couple of days before, you can go ahead and put a bag over that. If this was your palest producing plant, you just put the bag over. Sorry, not a one-handed job. So you put the bag over, and now that bud is isolated. If we move down, I can show you an example of one I've done before. Here's a good example. So this here, I bagged a day or two ago, and today is the day that bud opened, and it opened into a flower inside the bag. And that means that the insects can't get in and cause cross-pollination. So we know that this pod is going to self-pollinate. It can only work if it shares its own pollen. So that's what we call a pure or a selfed seed, and we will be able to save seeds from this pod and know that it's definitely pure. I've got two plants. Number 7 and number 11 is the ones I'm bagging for my palest pods. It's always hard to tell, but you know, pretty pale pods here. So once that's happened, I don't think I've got an example in a bag. Oh, maybe I do. I don't have an example in a bag, but what you'll see is basically this. Like within a day of flowering, the flower dies and falls off. Well, and this one's not fallen off yet, but yours will fall off within the bag. So this will be loose enough. There you go. That well, anyway, there's the freshly fertilized little baby okra. What ovary now fertilized will become a fruit and will have the seeds inside it. This is the dead flower, which usually just falls down. If this had been one of my bagged varieties and I were just to walk away right now, when I walk back again, I wouldn't have a clue which one was my pure seed or my self seed. So it's very important that once you take the bag off, that you label the stem. I use just landscaping tape and tie it around. You can use pipe cleaners. Some people just snap that leaf below so that they know that's a marker. I feel that's a bit risky because other leaves could be snapped by whatever. So I always try and put a high colored something around it. The high colored ribbon lets everybody else know that might be harvesting that I always say don't harvest anything that's tagged, and that keeps it nice and straight so that this will become, if it had been bagged, that would become my pure seeds. So that's the dead flower, and then once it's tagged, that's when you just got to wait. You got to wait until it goes all the way through. And I don't have any examples, I don't think, of pods that are getting ready. You can see that these ones are getting big. They've got the tag on to show that they've been selfed. But we say 40 days to mature seed, but to give you like a visual, then we're looking for the pod to start turning brown. It doesn't have to be fully brown, although if you've got time in the season to let it go fully brown, then that's a bonus. But if you harvest it while it's still all green, then there's a high chance that those seeds are going to be immature and they won't make it. They won't grow, they won't store, let alone grow next year. Maybe, you know, this one here is changing color, the seams, you know, that one's starting to go. I've still got a month left, so I'm not concerned about even trying to harvest these seeds off the plants yet, but just depending on where you are, you definitely don't want to harvest before you start getting that turning of brown, otherwise the seeds won't be ready. And as I get examples in the field, I'll come back and show you. If anyone's in Asheville and wants to come and check out the 100 variety okra forest, then you're very welcome. It's pretty exciting in there right now. Lots of seed saving going on. We're doing some intentional crosses to create some high oil seed varieties. And yeah, you're always welcome to come and check it out. Just give me a heads up.